Welcome back to the grind for another Act 7.2 guide. This is going to be quest number 5 with the Surging, Vengeance, and Tyranny lane. Now, this means that only villains can gain power, and the opponent is going to throw off special attacks in the order of 1, then 2, then 3. So you'll need power control. However, with the superiority, if you have a villain, then your heavy attacks will apply a taunt debuff. So this allows pretty much any villain to work for this lane. So Dr. Doom is a fantastic villain that works for a majority of the fights, and I started off with Dr. Doom against this Venom pool. You can see every heavy attack applies a taunt debuff. This does not stack, but every time you redo a heavy attack, it will reapply the full duration. While they are affected by a taunt debuff, they will gain less power from striking into them. So this is a very nice additional bonus that you get from having the taunt debuff active throughout the majority of the fight. So you can just put these opponents into the Doom cycle. The problem is that because they gain less power with the taunt active, when you come out of your special 3 and you do your rotation, they're not going to have 3 full bars of power, so you're not going to steal 2 full bars of power with your special 1. So you do have to play a little bit different with Doom in these fights, but it doesn't make it really that much more challenging. You just have to work around it a little bit more. So Dr. Doom is a fantastic option and makes these fights very easy and straightforward, especially because he can chain on his heavy attacks if the opponent has a shock on them, making it very easy to access the taunt debuff repeatedly. And so you can use Dr. Doom for many of the fights on this lane. Now, the next fight is going to be against Yellowjacket. Now, Yellowjacket is metal, so we can use Magneto, who is a villain champion, allowing him to gain power. Now, because of the ability accuracy reduction, you will not always trigger a taunt on your heavy attacks, especially if you have the pacify and are doing it during stuns, then you might have more trouble getting the taunt debuffs. However, you don't technically need to do any taunts because having them throw a special 1 and then a special 2, you can very easily have built up to 3 bars of power before they get to their special 3, and throwing 1 special 3 with Magneto and applying all those bleeds with the shrapnel and then the explosion damage from the shrapnel bleeds is more than enough damage to defeat the opponent before they actually have to throw off a special 3. So Magneto is a very good option, but you will still get taunt debuffs throughout the fight because it's just a much less chance of occurring. But because you throw so many heavy attacks with Magneto, you're eventually going to land a taunt, and that will allow you to bait out a special attack like you just saw there. And hopefully you won't get hit by it like I did. And now we're building up to our special 3. We're going to charge 1 last heavy to refresh all our prowess, and then we're going to throw off the special 3. And after that, it does a fair bit of damage, plus all those bleeds are just dealing so much damage. And once the bleed effects end, it'll deal burst damage after that. So we don't even have to attack into him anymore because we're going to have more than enough overkill. Now the next fight is against Killmonger, which can be an annoying fight. Magneto actually works very well for this fight as well, because once you get to a special 2, you can apply an armor break, and once you have him armor broken, every time you charge your heavy attack, you're going to refresh it. So now that we have the armor break active, every time we charge our heavy, we're going to refresh the duration of that armor break, and because Killmonger is not a metal champion, he will be getting the taunts from every heavy attack, so you don't have to worry about the Surging Vengeance, and you can bait out the special attacks as they come, and building up to a special 3 will help us pretty much end the fight with all that bleed damage. Even though he's not a metal champion, the bleeds just deal so much damage, and you can end the fight pretty easily after throwing the special 3. The next fight is against Carnage, and if you have your Dr. Doom works wonders against Carnage as well. But again, any villain champion will work. You just throw your heavies to apply the taunt debuffs, and you can bait out the special attack. So Carnage is a pretty straightforward fight, not much difficult going on there, so we'll probably skip through a majority of this fight. And since they do receive less power while they are taunted, after coming out of the special 3, I just did 2 mediums and then a medium light to get as much power steal as possible from the light attacks, and then go back in for another combo to steal power for a special 2, and obviously that was a ton of overkill on that last special 2. Now the next fight on this path is Dr. Octopus, who is also a metal champion, which means Magneto also works wonders. We're going to skip ahead to after the special 3. Look at all that bleed damage. We really don't have to do anything anymore, but you do get the Fury after throwing the special 3 against Dr. Octopus, so you can get some extra damage damage after that if you would like. Now, the last fight on this path is against Dormammu, and Dormammu can be an annoying champion to fight against. Dr. Doom works well because you can prevent him from throwing any special attacks, which means you don't technically have to do any dex, and therefore you will not have to trigger buffs and take degen damage. Now, in this fight, I did mistakenly throw off a special 3, which gives a fury buff, which when that ends, I end up taking degeneration damage. And so other champions that would work well are champions that can power control in their base kit as well. But if you just continue to bait out special 1s, that one is a little bit easier to deal with without actually triggering dexterity and having to take that degeneration damage. But Dr. Doom actually worked really well. I just ended up getting the degeneration after this fury expired, and because I didn't quite have enough health left, I did end up dying from it. But luckily, since I did the whole lane with basically just 2 champions, I was able to have enough champions left over to finish it off. Now, Quake would be a good option for this as well if you are a proficient Quake player, and Quake can pretty much Quake the entire lane because you don't need power to Quake, and if you are using Quake, they are not going to be gaining power, so you won't have to worry about Surging Vengeance either. So then I just went in with Apocalypse, who is also a villain, just to finish off the fight. He is not really a Dormammu counter, but I wanted to use him instead of the other champions, which I was saving for the boss after this fight. So let me know what champions you used. I do hope this was helpful. Good luck, and I hope to see you in the next video.